Go. This is the birth of the modern Democratic Party. If you ever hear a politician talk about the Democrats being the party of Jefferson, then they don't know what they're talking about. Okay? The party of Jefferson, remember, it was elitist. He believed in an aristocracy. Okay? The Democratic Party is the party of Jackson because it's the party of the people. Okay? This is probably the most important political development in American history. Without everything else there. And the reason is, guys, remember the pyramid? Remember who's on top and who's on bottom? Remember where most people are? Okay? This is their guy. When this guy becomes president and we start practicing Jacksonian democracy, the yeomen can vote. And the yeomen are the majority. This is when America truly becomes a democracy of the people. Remember, Hamilton feared the mob. Okay? The mob wins. Okay? That's important to keep in mind. Okay? All right. We're going to look at the Democrats. These are Jacksonian Democrats. They have dropped the Republican from their name. Okay? So after Jacksonian democracy kicks in, they will be the Democratic Party. Obviously, they're his guys. He's the voice of the common man. They believe in expanding to democracy. Okay? Just because you don't own land should not preclude you from being able to vote. And the more people you include to vote, the more you're touching the bottom of that pyramid. An expansion of democracy fits his constituency. Okay? Right. The philosophy is based on Jeffersonian. It's agrarian. It's agriculture. Okay? It venerates the farmer. And it believes in states' rights. But he does not believe in this land-owning aristocracy. He believes that, remember we talked about earlier this year that in Jeffersonian's philosophy, that Jefferson told the yeoman, you guys be good little yeomen. Go out there and do what you're going to do. We know what's best for you. So we'll act on your behalf. Okay, that's what Jefferson said. Jackson said, act on your own behalf. You're human beings. You're Americans. You have every right anybody else does. So nobody's going to presume to do anything for you. You have the right to do it for yourself. Okay? That's the difference in the two. Okay? Jacksonian democracy was more of a pure democracy than Jeffersonian was. Okay? He hates the American system. And the reason is because to Andrew Jackson, the American system hurts his people. It hurts yeomen. It doesn't help the common man. Jackson looks up and he sees things like the Bank of the United States. Okay? He sees things like internal improvements. All right? And he says, you know, these things are intrusion by the federal government. They're coming into the states and saying, okay, we're going to impose what we want on you. And because it was an intrusion of the federal government, it violated his philosophy of states' rights. Plus, no yeoman is going to benefit from the Bank of the United States. No Southern yeoman is going to benefit from a protective tariff. Okay? So because the American system was an intrusion by the government and it hurt his people, that's why he will wage war against them. And of course, the greatest instance of this was the bank war. Okay? He believes in expansion. And he believes in expansion with slavery. He is a slave owner. One thing about Jackson and he's a very controversial figure, especially today, okay, is Jackson believed in expansion. He believed in expansion. He believed that Southerners had the right to expand with their slaves, okay? But he had enough of devotion to his own philosophy that he would never allow it to do it if it threatened the Union. If it becomes dangerous to the sanctity of the Union, we won't do it. That's why he didn't annex Texas. Okay? So this is somewhat conditional. He believes in this unless it threatens the Union. And that's what that says right there. Okay? He believes in states' rights. Remember, guys, when he passed the force bill to threaten to go into South Carolina, okay, it was because of nullification. All right? So he will believe and support basic Jefferson platforms, but he will not threaten the sanctity of the Union. If the Union's threatened, he'll throw it away. And the best example of that is Texas. He wanted Texas really, really bad. Okay? His best buddy Sam Houston was down here winning a revolution for him. And he would not do it because he knows after the Missouri Compromise that slavery was the big specter hanging over the whole thing. To Jackson, it wasn't worth it. Okay? Here comes Mr. Clay. Okay? Guys, the Whigs, this is the recovery of the Federalists. This is the Federalist Part 2. This is them rising from the ashes of the Hartford Convention. They were a faction within the Democratic Republican Party. Okay? But when Jacksonian Democracy destroyed that, they reformed into the Whigs. Okay? All right, here we go. Here's the guy that is in charge of the Whigs, Henry Clay. He's the author of the American System. These are the conservative factions of the Jeffersonian Democratic Republicans. The crazy thing about the Whigs is they were conservative, but when it came to very powerful controversial topics like slavery, all of a sudden they lost their nerve. Okay? They won't commit totally to controversy because they don't want to lose the support. Okay? So they'll be conservative with an asterisk. They'll be conservative when it suits them. They're very wishy-washy. Remember we talked about Henry Clay was very good about going whichever way the wind blew? Okay? This is something important. More than any devotion to any political philosophy, they hated Andrew Jackson. Jackson was the rallying point for them. They hated everything he stood for. Okay? The American system is the brainchild. Guys, the American system is nothing more than a restatement of Hamilton's financial program. Okay? Clay restated, codified it, and hung his name on it. It's extremely important to understand the American system. This is why, okay? It had its birth with Alexander Hamilton. Okay? In between 1812 and 1816, Clay put it together as the American system. It stayed that way. It will stay the basis, okay, of Whig politics. When the Whigs go away, their successors will be the Republican Party, and the American system will still be there. This is why it's important. Today, we live under the American system. Okay? Once we employed it, it never went away. Okay? So this will be the basis. In other words, Hamilton won. Okay? All right. They have a Federalist philosophy. They believe in Hamilton. They believe in a strong central government. And when it comes to slavery, they're a little bit gutless. Expansion and slavery are hot potato issues. You're either for it or you're against it. And when you're a political party, you've got to be real careful with that type of thing because you're going to alienate somebody. Okay? So rather than alienate somebody that may disagree with them, they'll sit here and be very vague. Okay? They won't come out in favor of slavery or in favor of expansion. Okay? They'll try to find a compromise. That's why Henry Clay was called the Great Compromiser. He's the guy that compromised with the Missouri Compromise. He's the author of the Compromise of 1850. And the reason is Whigs won't commit. They won't commit to expansion and slavery. That's the important thing. Okay? Remember what happens to them right before the Civil War? That they won't commit. It gets to be so bad where the Whigs will split into the conscious Whigs and the cotton Whigs. Okay? They won't commit. And the fact that they won't commit will cost them their existence. They'll go away. Okay? They'll reemerge in 1852. And when they reemerge, it'll be a collection of former Whigs and this new group of people called Free Soilers. And they'll call themselves the Republican Party. Okay? So the fact that they're non-committal will eventually cost them their existence. Okay? They're a victim of factions. Okay, is everybody?